What's going on, everyone? I'm here to review the Borderlands spin-off slash full game, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Is it worth playing, or is this something that you guys can skip? Well, I hate to say it, but it kind of depends on you here. I'll be giving my personal thoughts on everything in the game for both new players and returning Borderlands players, so keep watching to see. Let's start with a bit of backstory and a little bit of story. So, the game is a brand new Borderlands experience. If you've played any other Borderlands game before this, you definitely know what to expect. Veterans of the series will quickly remember that this is an expanded version of the full game version of Borderlands 2's DLC, which, by the way, was excellent every time they released something. You're basically playing a knockoff Dungeons & Dragons called Bunkers and Badasses. Tina is the game master here, which helps make things pretty interesting because she's kind of odd and crazy. You start the game by making your own Bunkers and Badasses character, in full here, and that includes hair, voice, armor, backstory, and even class. The way the game works is like any other Borderlands games. You'll go through main missions, and some side missions, kill hordes of different enemies, kill versions of badass enemies, which are basically stronger versions of those enemies, and bosses. Throughout the way, you're picking up cash, selling guns, and upgrading your characters and abilities. And of course, getting just a ton of loot. The goal here is really just to become as overpowered as hell. The formula from previous Borderlands games stays, with just a few new twists. You have no grenades this time, but instead you get these really cool magic abilities that recharge. Those abilities range from fire, ice, spawning electric creatures to just zap people, or dropping a meteor on someone. The guns are given a nice medieval twist, throwing a crossbow on there, but in my opinion it's a little lazy way of adapting those Borderlands weapons to this brand new world. You'll be playing Bunkers and Badasses with a real party that's shown outside in just cutscenes, named Valentine and Fret. Within the game, you'll meet some interesting characters, spoofs of other characters, and some typical RPG tropey characters. It's not a Borderlands game unless they're poking fun at something, right? The game's fully aware it's a board game, so you'll interact with things on the board, like cheese puffs, bottle caps, just things that Tina might have dropped onto the board, adding a nice little feature to the board game style that they're running. The story within the game, though, is about getting something called a soul sword to stop this guy named the Dragon Lord, who's, again, the main bad guy of the game. This time, though, that Dragon Lord is self-aware, gets that he's the bad guy, and is just so annoyed of always being stopped by Tina, and is determined to break that cycle of kind of getting revived and stopped every time he tries to take over the world. I'll be honest, the story here is okay. I didn't find myself too much into it, but I also didn't hate it. The game to me really starts out with promise. You're going to a unique style Borderlands game with literal tabletop board to move through. You're going to be meeting characters, running quests. Side missions are definitely more enjoyable than some others, but the main story is pretty forgettable and just, in my opinion, feels almost pointless. The main villain's okay, but he's not something like a handsome Jack. With this series has honestly been facing a really bad issue with their villains lately. If you guys remember the Borderlands 3 villains that everyone hated, I feel bad here. This just feels like they can't top handsome Jack, and it almost just feels like it's just not going to happen. The self-awareness that they give this guy is a cool twist, but the game's story isn't anything more complicated than three friends hanging out, playing a board game. You learn a little bit about Valentine and Fret, why they're there. By the end, there's a cool we did it, we worked together theme, but if you're looking for some compelling type of story, this won't be it. Graphics, on the other hand, are awesome. It's a typical Borderlands style game, so if you're into that, you're in for a treat. I played this one on a PC using a 2060 Super, and this game really just worked my card, giving me a reminder that I probably should upgrade. Seriously, like the temps were over 85 sometimes. I had to pull out the glass on my PC just because it was just working it to the bone. The game's effects when it comes to guns, magic, and everything just pops with every little blast. It's really nice to see. Enemies are a range of skeletons, goblins, mushrooms, zombies, and wyverns. Each area, though, is, in my opinion, where the game shines. You'll visit some medieval towns, storm a castle, go into a living forest. There's even a side mission where you're basically in a town that got sprouted on by a giant beanstalk. Definitely don't skip that side mission. It was honestly one of my favorite ones. You're not going to be getting crazy realistic graphics here, which is something that every game shoots for, but it, to me this is just a breath of fresh air when it comes to graphics. It's really cool to see this cel-shaded look kind of continue after that whole Wind Waker game made it really more mainstream. Borderlands has kind of taken this and just ran through it, making it their go-to graphics option. I love it. I think it's giving the game a lot of character, and it looks pretty cool. Performance, though, on my PC at least, I had a bit of pop-in, constantly kind of happen. I had games where I'd first start and the textures took a bit to load. I'd get to a new area and everything just looked like mud. I didn't have too much FPS slowdowns. I was playing on 1080p, and tried doing 4K, tried doing 1440, but kept it at 1080p for that 120 FPS, which I liked a lot better just because I personally hate frame rate slowdowns. I had a few glitches down the road. I had this reload icon that just wouldn't go away for about 20 minutes. I did play later during the game's life, so I didn't see anything crazy, and usually by now things have been updated. This wasn't a day one playthrough though. The game has been out, there's been a few patches, and I did get this one on sale. I'll be touching on that for you guys, but definitely, when it comes to performance, things have been patched up.
1000% explosion! It's dark! He's a little distracted at the moment. You'll have to, get his attention.
I can't complain about the sound in the game either. Voice acting from the main characters is great. Music's not bad, but it's nothing really memorable. You're going to just be normally hearing medieval jingles and skeletons screaming as you mow them down while they're shooting arrows and trying to melee you. Don't worry, they have some guns. I mean, the game's not that easy, but it is pretty easy. So, if graphics are good, sounds good, story's meh, I mean, this is a buy, right? Here's the thing, guys. If you're new to the series, think Diablo with guns. So if you're into that, give it a shot. The point of the game, though, is to get stronger, which should make the game more and more exciting. Tiny Tina, besides setting, does little for me to really get excited about it. I'm a Borderlands fan, and having played through all of the previous titles, this one started off exciting because it felt different. But I mean, once you got past that facelift they gave the game, it's still a great game, but it's really just a facelift of Borderlands 3. The guns here, in my opinion, had more potential to be unique, but you're going to be using the same guns or the same style of guns because most really aren't that good. Same with magic. You're going to find out immediately what works for you when you mow down skeletons, and you'll just start noticing that you never want to equip certain magic abilities because they're just not good enough. With every enemy that I kill, I was getting nothing but garbage. I literally got 3 legendary weapons throughout the entire game. You increase your luck with this new feature by finding dice, which is a cool concept at first, and it helps you explore the map, but the dice felt like it did nothing for my character. I wanted to feel overpowered, and by endgame, I didn't really feel compelled to grind and get better guns. The story was never really worth something replaying, in my opinion, so when it comes down to replayability, it's about 20 hours maybe. Maybe less if you're just trying to play the story. If you're concerned about playtime versus value, definitely keep that in mind. Another issue for me, it's kind of an unfair thing to bring up, but the game's rarely funny, and this series is known for making me laugh, for having some really cool dialogue options, and just like hilarity and craziness of the game. I chuckled a couple times in a side mission because it had some jokes pointed at the Witcher series, but that was really it for me. I don't know if it's because I was younger when I played Borderlands 2, but I just remember that the writing was just a lot better, during Borderlands 1 and 2. I don't get what happened from 3 on. It just feels like the jokes are getting more and more lame, and if you find fart jokes funny, go out and buy this game, but it just didn't work for me when I was playing it. I really just played it with a straight face, sadly. And then another thing, the setting was something that was really just barely touched. They scratched the surface of what was possible. I think the weapons here were just lazily ported from the old games, and it just didn't feel like they fit the world. I thought it was a missed opportunity to go into this whole Dungeons and Dragons style. They did do a board game, they did have a painted miniature effect, and that's all really cool, but it was just really, really small compared to what they really could have done. You'll definitely have fun playing this one co-op, but let's be honest, most games are fun co-op. It's rare that one isn't. For me, the shine wears off really fast. Considering it's a short game, that says a lot. The game could really improve if they just adjust the loot system, but I mean, I was just meh on the game the whole time. It just wasn't something that I got ready and was really fun and just, getting off work, ready to play this game. Full disclosure, I touched on this before, guys. I didn't buy this at $60 MSRP, and I'd usually be harder on a game if I bought it for full price. I got this game on sale shortly after release, which to me is never a good thing. This came out during the whole Elden Ring fiasco, so it was quickly overshadowed, probably didn't sell well. But with that being said, I know I got it for about $45, but I still can't help but give the game a 7, and that's with me getting it on sale. The game could have been better for sure. It's not a bad game by any chance. 7 is still a very good score, but to me it's average. It's an average release at most. It's a new interesting way to play Borderlands, and it's scratching the surface of what's possible. But for me, it just plays too safe. Every risk they took with the game worked out, so the next release should be much more fleshed out. If you're thinking about buying this and are a die-hard Borderlands fan, I definitely go out and grab it. Nothing has changed much. I mean, being able to dual class is really cool. The magic abilities are nice instead of having grenades. So definitely if you're a fan, go for it. But if you're thinking about buying this and you're not a die-hard fan, I would definitely get this one if it's on sale, because in my opinion $60 is pretty much a rip for this kind of game. There's a lot of potential for future releases to be great if they take a few more risks next time. You guys watching my review here? Definitely appreciate you guys watching this review. We've been slowly growing. I really like the love that I got on that last Elden Ring video. That was one of the best times I've had in gaming in a while. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.